able to have this day from a past that was cloudy at times, but God, you did provide. And so, Father, as we go forth and we have people who will entertain and people who will speak and people who will reminisce, and we have fellowship among one another, we want you to know that it is all possible through your gracious and magnificent name. And we thank you above all, Father God. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Deacon Anderson. I just want to take one moment to recognize that amongst us is Mrs. Quinette Vassar McNeil, and we're proud of her. I've known her from she was very small, but she's now the president of Cape May NAACP. I'm not sure where she is. Quinette, would you, oh, there she is. Just come forward for a quick minute, because the Juneteenth celebration that we have here goes to one point. And Quinette, if you would just share yours in Whitesboro.
Good morning, everybody. This is amazing. So I grew up here right in, West Cape May, and moved away to Whitesboro 20-some years ago, but Cape May is definitely still my hometown. And I'm just so excited and so happy that we are here today, gathered in Cape May, to celebrate in honor of the opening of the Harriet Tubman Museum and celebration of Juneteenth. In Whitesboro, from 1 to 6 today, the Cape May County NAACP will be hosting its second annual Juneteenth festivities, and that is on Main Street in Whitesboro. That day will be full of family activities, kid activities. There's vendors, there's food. The food there for the kids will be free, and we just hope that everyone can come out and celebrate with us at the conclusion of this. So that'll be from 1 to 6 in Whitesboro at the Martin Luther King Center on Main Street. And at 6 o'clock, if the rain holds out, we will have a basketball tournament. So we're looking forward to that and hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Quinette, and truly we are proud of her because we remember her so very in her childhood, and just watch her grow and bloom and move to that space of leadership. And we know leadership is never an easy road, but she's one of the, what I call the youngins, but I know that she might not look at it that way, that's taken on that mantle and taken on that responsibility. And you know, she stands proud in it. And I'm immensely proud of the work that she's done with Cape May County NAACP. So now we have a really special presentation. With it is a really, I guess, very unique event. But before I go into that unique event, I want to first give you a little history on this event. And it connects to the military, the Civil War. So just bear with me as I give you just a little background. And then we will have a regiment of soldiers who will come in and do a beautiful presentation of a historic flag to some of the descendants that are in Cape May. So we're really honored today because we have reenactors of the 22nd Regiment of the U.S. Colored Troops. This probably wouldn't have been possible without the extremely dedicated work and detailed research done by Mrs. Barbara Dreyfus. I'm not sure where she is, but she's out there somewhere. And a lot of probably long conversations with Miss Emily Dempsey. Miss Emily Dempsey, that's the go-to person for the history. And so what they sort of are bringing to light is that when President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, it was clear then that the Civil War was being fought to end slavery. And it also opened up the opportunity for African American men to fight in the army to free their families and friends. And at that point, there were about 180,000 black men in the Union Army, including those from Cape May. There were more than 30 soldiers, members of what we call the U.S. Colored Troops. And many, lie at rest in the Union Bethel Cemetery. That's on Tabernacle Road. If you don't have a chance, or if you have a moment, visit it. It is really very unique, although you have to kind of find it. And some are in Mount Zion Cemetery on Shunpike Road. So they too, just for a historical moment, to walk through and see those grave sites. More than a third of these soldiers came from Cape May, but what is really significant is that they fought bravely, the U.S. Colored Troops, at Petersburg and Richmond, Virginia. They actually led their Union forces to the capital of the Confederacy in Richmond, Virginia, when it was captured. They were in Richmond when President Lincoln came a few days later to see that victory. Of course, less than 2 weeks later, President Lincoln was assassinated. But that 22nd Regiment was asked to be the honor guard accompanying Lincoln's coffin to the train. They were also ordered, the same regiment, to find his killer. So that same 22nd Regiment was sent to Maryland's Eastern Shore, where many of their descendants have been slaves, to search for John Wilkes Booth. But today, we are proud to have actual descendants on stage, and we'll have her come up, and some men who are reacting it from Cape May who fought in that 22nd. One was Charles S. Bowes, a direct descendant to Miss Emily Dempsey, and his gravesite lies at Union Bethel Cemetery. Again, it's about 6 miles away. In today's program, the family and the descendants will receive a copy of the flag that their ancestors fought from the 22nd Regiment. And reenactors will be presenting that flag to the family. Then Miss Emily is gracious enough to have the flag be flown in the Harriet Tubman Museum. So I'm going to ask that the regiment begin its movement forward. I'm not sure where they are, but if we can bring them forward. Of the families that, yes. Yeah, of the U.S. troops. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay.
I just wanted to take a second to acknowledge something that I learned yesterday while at the Harriet Tubman Museum, which is that back in the early 1900s, 30% of the population in Cape May, African Americans made up. And today we're 3%. I didn't want to leave today without acknowledging and honoring those African American families, and I'll read off some of the names. I probably will miss someone. Anderson, Vassar, Wise, Nash, Elliott, Capehart, Jones, Johnson, Freeman, Washington, Bowes, Edgecombe, Dempsey, Cruz, Coleman, Langford, Hawkins, Seeney, Carter, Harris, Hickman, Simmons, Lugo, Green, King, Matthews, Hebron, Knight, Burton, Wing, Molson, Vance, Taylor, Wright, Gray, Norris, Harmon, Reed, Butler, Hazel, Battle, Major, Hicks, Arrington, Jackson, James, Reyes, Moore, Parker, Hunt, Lewis, Jarman, Brooks, Bell, Faison, Boatwright, Bird, Lee, Potter, Huff, Richardson, Height, King, Harrell, Carpenters, Boyce, Smith, Oxendine, Valentine, Miller, Tatum, Bryant, Gordon, Thompson, Bryce, Allen, Dorsey, Jennifer, Mabry, Thompson, Ferguson, Bourne, Davis, Gaines, Allison, Lynch, Middleton, Wilmore, Kuntz, Curry, Russell, Duggar, Tucker, Gaines, Lisby, Atkinson, Scott, Robinson, Porto, Cox, Wakefield, Annest, Walter, Berkeley, Huff, Bryant, Tyree, Frills, Hampton, Dickerson, Trulier, Tranks, Beeman, Hargett, and White. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we will have our soldiers in the reenactment. Please welcome them. Miss Emily Dempsey, also surrounded by her family, to come forward on behalf of the descendants of Charles Bowes, one of the original African-American soldiers in the 23rd Regiment. Again, gravesite at the Union Bethel Cemetery.
Present this flag to you from a grateful nation for the sacrifices your ancestors made. And God bless you and all your descendants in the future. Thank you.
And now Miss Emily will present the flag to the Harriet Tubman Museum of Cape May with me and Miss Cynthia Mullock, who is the Executive Director of the Harriet Tubman Museum. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Here for a moment. We can hold it. We can hold it for a moment and just observe. Yes. She can say several words. Yes. Yes. And maybe you want to say it. That side. There we go.
I'd like to thank the representatives from the Harriet Tubman Museum for helping to have this presentation happen. It's very emotional, it's amazing, it's historic. I just cannot tell you how this makes me feel to have our family represented this way. It started just from a little piece of paper sent to me by my cousin in Ewing Township, showing a registration of a grave site. And that was passed on to Barbara Dreyfus, and she, with her investigative ways, checked it out and found out that our great-great-grandfather was part of this 22nd unit. I would like to especially thank the 22nd unit for being here. It's very, very special, and we will never forget this. But I would like to thank also the Center for Community Arts History Group. 28 years, the longest running committee in the Center for Community Arts. Over 28 years, we've documented the history, we've recorded the history, we've helped the Harriet Tubman Museum with artifacts and photographs. there's so many people connected with making this a success. But while I still have this platform, I was asked to say a couple words about the Allen AME Church. 2 years ago, our church, the Allen AME Church, the church I was raised in on Franklin Street in Cape May, was raised by fire. It sat, and finally the conference sold the church to the city of Cape May. It sat and sat. Finally, Mayor Zach Mullet came into office, and he hit the ground running. And within months, he put a roof on that building. If you go past there now, all the siding is off, revealing the beautiful siding. The stained glass windows are out, being sent out to be strengthened and cleaned. The foundation will be refurbished, strengthened, and the church will be brought back to the way it looked in 1929. But I'd like to thank Mayor Mullet for his not letting the pigeons and the moisture get in that building. There's just so many people to thank, and I can't thank them all. But this is a blessed day. And Mayor Zach, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cynthia Mullock, the volunteer executive director of the Harriet Tubman Museum of New Jersey. Thank you so much for being here on this beautiful Juneteenth National Independence Day. Let's have a round of applause for our new national holiday. Two and a half years ago, we planned to have our grand opening on Juneteenth, but we expected that to be Juneteenth 2020. So many surprises in this year, but we've had so much support through challenging times. And this museum has been a beautiful example of how a community can learn to live in connection with one another, can learn to live in community with one another, and also can learn about our untold history, preserve our endangered spaces, and share our commonalities and our differences together. That community, we have had so much support from so many people, and we have such an extensive audience here now. It's so exciting. But I would be remiss if I didn't thank the state of New Jersey for all of its support through Governor Murphy, through Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, through Secretary of State Tahisha Way, and all of the many organizations, the New Jersey Historic Commission, the New Jersey State Council of the Arts, and especially our partners at Cape May County. And Commissioner Director Thornton is here, and so we would love to give a round of applause for all of the work that he's done and his team has done in the tourism office, supporting history, arts, and culture. Thank you so much. I have the distinct pleasure to recognize another, our best partner, which is the Macedonia Baptist Church. Many of you know, please. The Macedonia Baptist Church, we have worked in partnership between the Harriet Tubman Museum and the Macedonia Baptist Church. This museum would not be without the church and its community. The museum is housed in Howell House, the historic parsonage of the Macedonia Baptist Church, which in 2012 was named one of the most endangered places in the state of New Jersey, one of the top 10 most endangered historic sites in the state of New Jersey by Preservation New Jersey magazine. And this group, all of you, have turned that around in 2.5 years of effort and your skill and your talents that you've brought to this project to make it one of the top 10 most anticipated museums in the world by Smithsonian Magazine, and also ranked number 5 best new museum in the country by USA Today Reader's Choice Awards, 10 best. Thank you so much. We call it the small museum with a big story, and all of you are part of that big story. Thank you for letting me be a part of that big story. Another one of our most gracious partners is the Davis family. And Carolyn Davis, Mrs. Carolyn Davis, is here today. The Davis family was the last family to live in the Howell House, which now houses the Harriet Tubman Museum. And maybe Mrs. Davis can come up. So Mrs. Carolyn Davis, her husband, thank you for standing. Her husband, Pastor Robert O. Davis, led the church for 47 years. But not only did he lead the church, he was a pillar of the community, one of the founders of Cape May MAC, that institution responsible for so much of the efforts in creating Cape May as a National Historic Landmark. So many of the families of Cape May were married by the pastor in Howell House. And for 47 years, he was a passionate educator, leader of the community, leader of the choir, and it's such a blessing that he collected so many artifacts along with Mrs. Davis. And we've been through that collection, and many of those artifacts, art, forms our exhibits at the Harriet Tubman Museum. So for all of the very dedicated service of Mrs. Davis, both in helping us form our collections and also serving on the historic committee and in managing the interpretation of those collections, we are so grateful to you. Thank you, Mrs. Davis.
And we have for her a plaque that says, with our deepest appreciation, presented to Mrs. Carolyn King Davis for your unwavering support and your continuous contributions to the Harriet Tubman Museum, Cape May. Thank you from the Harriet Tubman Museum Trustees, June 19th, 2021.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Mullock and his team for a job well done. And thank Mrs. Towns for inviting me to showcase my husband's artifacts at the museum. She was the first and only one to come to me and ask me if I would do that job. But I was very pleased because he would have loved that, loved this, really. You know, he loved to talk. So this would just be right along his lines. He was very passionate about his collection. He loved to share. And before he became ill, he kept Black history alive by sharing at the schools, mainly the Lower Township schools, elementary, middle, and high schools. He often spoke at the organizations, women's community clubs around town. And for 45 years, he was the conductor, organizer, and conductor of the Macedonia Singers Choir at Convention Hall. So he really kept Black history alive. He would have been so proud to know that his art is still being shared in this community that he loved so well. It's been my pleasure, Barbara and Linda and Cynthia and the whole team, to work with you. they say patience. I had it this time. But I really enjoyed working with you and to try to make it the success that it is. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Beautiful. Mrs. Davis is just amazingly patient. I think that as we talk about our connections to Macedonia Baptist Church, I do believe our pastor, Reverend Harold Harris, is here. If he is here, Reverend Harris, if you would just raise your hand. Deacon Anderson had the prayer for you covered. I know that was well, but he is again, our minister and our pastor at Macedonia Baptist Church. That partnership with the Harriet Tubman Museum is essential. And truly, as one of its deacons, the museum has its space, but it's always connected with that spiritual cord, and that is the church. And it's still overall design is to lift up, to build membership, to bring all faith believers back to the church. So as we look at this particular day, it is just remiss to believe, as a teacher, you can never assume there's always knowledge, because sometimes there isn't. So we always try to take a space just to talk about the meaning and the history of Juneteenth. I'm really excited to share one of my fellow teaching colleagues, and probably one of the best teachers I've ever seen in the classroom. His name is Mr. Teddy Bryan, and what I think is great about him is that he was nominated by the students of New Jersey as one of the best teachers in our state. That said something to me. Mr. Teddy Bryan taught African American history. Sometimes we partnered. I taught African American literature, and he did the history. And children were spellbound. And both of us are kind of storytellers. So please welcome Mr. Teddy Bryan as he shares the history of Juneteenth. He really is the greatest.
I have to thank Mrs. Towns for that very generous introduction. And I have a question for Mrs. Towns, too. How did you get Juneteenth to become a federal holiday to conform to this? It's a great thing. This is a great day for the city of Cape May. It is a great day for Cape May County, for the state of New Jersey, and beyond. I'm just very excited. I can feel the excitement in the air. I've been asked to speak briefly about the history and the meaning of Juneteenth. Juneteenth. What is Juneteenth? It has been called Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, Liberation Day, the Day of Jubilee. Many would say that Juneteenth is as important of a holiday as is the 4th of July because that is the day that represents the historic moment when all Americans knew that they were free. When I was in school, I learned that I was taught that Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation ended slavery. Later, I realized that that proclamation was the beginning of the end of slavery. two reasons. One, that proclamation stated that persons who were held in slavery in states that were in rebellion against the Union would be free. Well, there were 4 states that were practicing slavery that were not covered by that proclamation. The second thing, that proclamation was issued on January the 1st, 1863. On January, there were celebrations all over the country at that time because of the proclamation, but on January the 2nd, 1863, nothing really had changed yet, because in order for that proclamation to have meaning, the Civil War had yet to be won. So, freedom would actually come at different times to different places. By April the 9th, 1865, the main army of the Confederacy surrendered. And by that point in time, most of the persons held in slavery now knew that they were free. So what happened on June the 19th, 1865? Well, on that date, the Union Army entered Galveston, Texas. Now, Texas was located west of the Mississippi River and were practicing slavery as they always had. Major General Gordon Granger announced to the citizens of Texas on that day that the war was over and slavery had been abolished. He also declared that the black race from this point on would have the same rights as the white race. Now, because of the location of Texas, this would be the first time that almost 180,000 black people held in slavery would know that they were free. As word spread, spontaneous celebrations broke out all over Texas. 1 year later, by 1866, that date was a holiday for Black America. Now, we've been celebrating this week because now it's a holiday for the entire nation, a federal holiday. I still think that Mrs. Towns may have had something to do with that, but that's... Juneteenth matters. For Black America, it is an opportunity to acknowledge our strength, our solidarity, and our culture. For all of America, Juneteenth matters. It is a time to renew our commitment to the struggle for equality that continues up to this day. Juneteenth has always been and is today a joyous holiday. It is a time for families, friends, and communities to come together. It is known for good food, for good music, for dance, for art, for religious celebration, and for celebrating the history of this day. In 1996, a poem was written by a poet, Christina Kay. It was entitled, "We Rose." It is one of many poems that are considered to be official poems of the Juneteenth holiday. I would like to end by reading this poem to you. We rose. From Africa's heart, we rose. Already a people, our faces ebon, our bodies lean. We rose. Skills of art, life, beauty, and family, crushed by forces we knew nothing of, we rose. Survive we must. We did. We rose. We rose to be you. We rose to be me. Above everything expected, we rose. To become the knowledge we never knew, we rose. Dream we did, act we must. Thank you, everyone, and have a great Juneteenth and opening of the Harriet Tubman Museum.
I always smile with Mr. Bryan because whenever you do programs, there are certain individuals that you can always call on, and they're just, they never say no. They're always willing to work with you. Mr. Bryan is one of those personalities that I can always pick up the phone. I may not have heard from him for months, but I can pick that phone up and say, can you help me? And he is always there. To lift up just our community and just, again, sharing the knowledge of African Americans' contribution. He truly is a treasure and a gem to Cape May County. So, of course, Cape May is very, very fortunate to have such a strong movement to preserve history. But we couldn't do that without very, very dedicated people who really look to hold things in place for great stories. One of them is the head of the Historic Preservation of Cape May, New Jersey, Mr. Tom Carroll. I see him many places, but what I know is that he's always behind the scenes working to make sure that Cape May really does keep as much as it can of its character, of its strength, and really of its historical beauty. Would you welcome Mr. Tom Carroll? And he's just gonna say a couple of things. Again, partners. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for those kind words. As president of what is now probably the oldest not-for-profit organization in Cape May, called Cape May MAC, I asked if I could say a few words on behalf of all the other organizations out there that I know deep in their hearts are so pleased with the work that's going on for the creation of the Harriet Tubman Museum, and not to mention Juneteenth. I just want to tell you a little bit about the character of Cape May. You know, towns that are sort of at the end of the line get a unique audience of people that want to visit them, live there, play there, work there. I'm thinking of places like Key West, Provincetown, Bar Harbor. You know, you go there and it ends. And that's kind of like what we feel here. You know, there is a ferry that'll take you away from here, but not many people use that. So we really have a wonderful collection of people that have for years really cared for this community. And I just want to highlight some of the things that has accomplished. It's accomplished things like the restoration of the Visitors Church across the street and turning it into a wonderful theater operation. It's also rescued a World War II all-wood hangar and World War II airplanes out at Wildwood Naval Air Station. It's helped move many buildings to Cold Spring Village that would have probably been destroyed. It's saved things like the Emlyn Physic Estate, numerous smaller buildings in town. And it's all in all, people have come together and worked really hard to make this town just as beautiful as it can. And believe me, we love sharing it with people that come here. So I do really appreciate you wanting to not only be here today for this, but also to get to know Cape May just a little bit better. And I would like to highlight one of the projects that was more recent. An organization called the Fund for Cape May decided to get involved when this park needed a major, major redo. And we did raise $558,000 of donated money to go on top of city money that took care of infrastructure on it. And the many items that you see in this park, and I hope are enjoying, are things that came out of the research that we did. My wife and I sat on every bench we could find in New York to find the most comfortable ones and came up with all the ones that you see around here, which many citizens then bought to put their names on them. The fence that goes around the building came from the Midwest in a nice Victorian design. The gas lights are almost a match to the original gas lights of Cape May. The fountain came from Robinson Iron's work in Alabama, a firm that has been famous for the restoration of many of the finest fountains in America. But this bandstand that I'm standing under out of the rain, thank you very much, has kind of a special story to it. Now, many people use the internet to search for things like dates and anything they want to buy. We went searching the internet for bandstands, and we found a company in Yorkshire, England, that said they could build something kind of to our standards, build it in Yorkshire, break it down, put it in a container, and ship it to us for reassembly here. So what you're seeing came from the idea we wanted it low so you all can see what's going on the stage. You remember the old one had a high fence around it. We wanted to face it down the park in perfect alignment with the fountain and the flag at the far end. And we wanted the onion-shaped dome on the top to be similar to the dome that you see on our little former chapel across the street. So what a great success. And I really want to also just add that all of us are so pleased with this restoration that has gone on with the Harriet Tubman Museum. I think if you had seen that building a few years back, you would have agreed with 85% of Cape May that it would never make it. It was beyond restoration. Many buildings in Cape May have made it beyond restoration, and many more will, I think, as we go on. But we wish all the best to the Harriet Tubman Museum, and we really thank all of you for being here today to help bring our community back together and join us for this wonderful celebration. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tom Carroll. We are surrounded by incredible historic preservationists, and this is such an important project to historic preservation, preserving these spaces that were dilapidated, and the Harriet Tubman Museum's efforts have really kicked off a regeneration of the spaces that are very important to the historic Black community in Cape May. On the corner of the Harriet Tubman Museum, you have the Franklin Street School behind that is being restored. You have across the street the Stephen Smith House that's being restored. You have the AME Church that's being restored. And we've been very blessed to work in partnership in a preservation leadership training with the National Trust for Historic Preservation, as well as the Smithsonian's NAMAC, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. We are so grateful for the leadership of those institutions in helping us with organization, board building, development. So it's been really an incredible thing to see so many people come and support this institution. One of the people who was most integral to the actual physical preservation of the Howell House is our mayor, Zach Malak. Before he became mayor, he sat on the Historic Preservation Commission, and he guided the site management of the restoration process along with so many volunteers. So I'd like to invite Zach up, and I'd also like to invite Chief of Police Deacon Fashaw.
Thank you all very much. Martin Luther King Jr. said, and this is on the bottom of all of the emails that come from the Harriet Tubman Museum, and it's kind of our anthem. Social progress does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes only through persistent work and the tireless efforts of dedicated individuals. He said that in a speech here in Cape May. It is dedicated individuals and volunteers who work tirelessly to build the Harriet Tubman Museum. The museum will preserve and teach a history that has long been neglected. As was stated about that day in 1865, this day in 1865, when the Union soldiers declared all the slaves free in Texas. That was a full 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. It was only with that knowledge that people understood that they were no longer slaves. No one had told them. It was only with that knowledge that they knew that they were free. Frederick Douglass said, "Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave." Within the last few months, the city of Cape May has again purchased the AME Church, and we will preserve that history in perpetuity. Just this Thursday, we had a conference with the state, the New Jersey Sites Council, Historic Sites Council, who unanimously approved the building plan for the Franklin Street School Library project. That was a major milestone in making sure that that happens. It was unanimously approved. And I would like to mention, we have a student, at least one, that went to the Franklin Street School, right, Emily? That's right. And for those of you who don't know, that school was segregated. It was purposely designed to be two buildings matched together in one. The plans that were just approved by the state removes the wall that separated people based on the color of their skin. It will bring the community together in fellowship to learn and to gain knowledge. Thank you. With me today is Cape May City's Police Chief, Deacon Fashaw. Chief Fashaw is a testament to our community's commitment to one another. He's dedicated his life to the Cape May community. Chief Fashaw has instituted real community-centered policing. While Cape May has always had a very good working relationship between the community and our police, in a very short time I've seen Chief Fashaw work very closely with our youth, our community organizations. And in fact, just the other day I was talking to him about some fundraising things that we could do, and he mentioned a dunk tank that he thought the mayor could go in. He thought that would really bring in a lot of fundraising. So without any further ado, our Chief of Police, Deacon Fashaw.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mayor, thank you. I will join you in that dunk tank. That's going to be August 3rd. We're going to have a national night out. That's a day where we come to celebrate our community with the police department and bring everyone together. That'll be at Convention Hall August 3rd at 5:30. Before I start my speech, I don't want to bore anyone. I want to relay my feeling right now standing here. You saw me snap a picture. What I'm seeing is not only the 6-foot distancing shortening to closeness. Look at the faces next to you. Black, white, every nationality is represented here. Men, women, anyone from the gay community, the lesbian community, transgender, we're all here together. That's the importance of this day. With that said, the reason we're here today. Again, I'll say good morning, it's afternoon now. We're fighting the rain back, but that's what Cape May is. We're unique. These raindrops won't spoil us. This day will be this day forever. This is history. Thank you all for sharing in this historic day in the city of Cape May and the opening of the Harriet Tubman Museum. This day is so very, very special, not only because of the timing, but the importance of the date. The 19th, June 19th, now referred to and memorialized as Juneteenth. Throughout history, this day has been known by many names: Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Liberation Day, Emancipation Day, and today, a national holiday. For some, this date will simply mean just another paid holiday. However, for many of us, this day will mean everything. Looking out at this crowd, the faces, I see activists, I see leaders, I see advocates, and the historians that made this day as important as it is. The importance of this day and the women like Miss Opal Lee, whose dream was made a promise this last Thursday when Congress allowed the president to fully enact this day as a national holiday. Through her 94 years of life and her activism, she ensured that people understand that Juneteenth is not a festival. Moreover, it should be a unifier. She explained that the slaves did not free themselves. It took all kinds of people, Quakers, abolitionists, brave men and women to get the slaves free. Women like Sojourner Truth, who escaped to gain her freedom in 1826, a true human rights crusader who fought for her women's rights and the equality thereof. Ida B. Wells, who also was an activist in the civil rights movement and one of the founders of the NAACP. I'm saying these names because they're important. When we say their name, these names are also important. Finally, and the reason we're all here today, Miss Harriet Tubman, the conductor of the Underground Railroad. Miss Tubman and all the women I've mentioned paved the way for people of color to become free and to have the rights afforded to them constitutionally, making it possible for me to stand here in front of you today, not only as a man of color, but a police chief, an accomplishment that would not have been possible without blood, sweat, and tears of the women, along with of the many freedom fighters of this country. We were set free in 1863, and just like mentioned earlier, however, many of us did not know until 1865, probably the longest 2 years of their lives. Could you imagine not knowing something as important as your freedom for 2 years? I want to thank all the people that involved in making this historic day, the amazing museum we're about to see here. The City of Cape May, Mayor Mullock and the Mullock family, Bob, you're in the crowd, Cynthia to my left, Miss Linda Towns, Hampy Taylor, I see you down there, all the historians, the Macedonia Baptist Church, Pastor Harris in the back there. You've brought along some friends with you, Pastor Harris. I believe that's the motorcycles we see running in here. That's a freedom group, their Freedom Ride. Moreover, the Dempsey family, the true historian of our towns, West Cape May and Cape May, including Cape May Point. If you don't know it, she does. I was raised mostly by women. My mother is one, my grandmother is the other. In this crowd, I see Isabel Gordon. Her mother, Miss Bernice Gordon, was one of the women mentors in my life. I would not be the man I am today without that woman standing right there, Isabel Gordon. I love you. If I've forgotten anyone, I apologize. There are several people in this crowd, from retired police officers to my manager of all, several council members. Everyone here is important. All of you are important. Please remember that. Mr. Victor Faison and his sister right next to me here, very important people. I'll get to them in a minute. This grand opening culminates years of hard work and dedication to honor a woman who not many of us knew, none of us knew her, who traveled through Cape May, lived and worked here, earned money to continue her courageous journey of freedom. The highlights of the museum will show you the significance of Cape May and how this community played an important role in the Underground Railroad over the years, as well as the countless souls that were set free at the hands and strength of Miss Harriet Tubman. COVID-19, in some ways, was a blessing in disguise, allowing the museum's team of historians and dedicated staff to make a finished project that is much better. You will witness an amazing museum and a true heartfelt feeling as you travel room to room, gaining an experience unfathomable until you read and take in the artifacts and sculptures that have been meticulously laid out and carefully understand this journey of freedom, one of which will not be forgotten because now it is encased in the city in Cape May. It is my honor to be a part of today and a part of this community and the people that made this day come true. My mother, Anita, has always told me, son, you are only as strong as your mind will carry you. Believe in yourself, protect your family and friends, loved ones who love you and support you. And those who may not understand you, try to support them as well. They may be weak, but you're stronger to make them stronger. My stepfather, Richard, he taught me that respect is earned and not given. Miss Harriet Tubman has earned that respect as her legacy and her memories live on here in Cape May, a place that I'm proud to call my home. I will leave you with a few quotes and statements from the education and reading that I've done about Miss Tubman's lifetime. Miss Tubman was noted to have said, and I quote, "If you hear the dogs, keep going. If you see the torches in the woods, keep going. If there's something or someone shouting at you, keep going. Don't ever stop. Keep going. If you want the taste of freedom, keep going. She also said, I was the conductor of the Underground Railroad for many years, and I can say that what most conductors cannot say. I never ran my train off the tracks, and I never lost a passenger. She also said, I had crossed the line, I was free, but there was no one there to welcome me to a land of freedom. I was a stranger in a strange land. I would be remiss today if I did not mention a family friend, Miss Alexis Faison. Her father is standing to my right here. She helped me prepare for today's events. She's a young woman. I'm 46 years old. Victor, how old is she? She's 19. These are her words to me. She said, a dream starts with an idea and leads with a pursuit. You, Deacon, cannot rely on your own motivation, but you must physically, mentally, and emotionally work towards making a dream come true. Your work to get to your position as chief today was because of your willpower. Now, your job is to encompass helping others strive to make change in this world. That is what I will live by. Along with the teachings of my family and my parents, women like Isabel Gordon, that young lady has taught me more than you can even imagine just by the 5 minutes she took to write that for me. She also noted that most citizens don't realize this island is a well-oiled machine that only functions when everyone plays their integral parts. She instructed me, Chief, play your part, do it well. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you. In closing, I am where I am because of the bridges that I crossed. Sojourner Truth was a bridge. Ida B. Wells was a bridge. Harriet Tubman was a bridge. I will now be that bridge for my family, my son DJ, my daughter Kendra, and the officers that I stand beside to lead and protect this community. May God bless you, and thank you for the opportunity to stand here.
Thank you so much, Chief Pasha. Now I'd like to share a little bit about the future of the Harriet Tubman Museum, both the future of what the museum's exhibits, and also the future generations that are going to support the effort of the museum and learn from the museum. And so I'm excited to introduce Daryl Edmonds with Friday is Tie Day. Daryl is the executive director of Friday is Tie Day and works with students of color in high school throughout South Jersey, mentoring them in STEM, preparing them for success, helping them with college applications, and helping boost them on their way. And many of those mentees are going to be working with the museum to develop our virtual programming and our museum app that'll be a tour of the museum that you can use within the facility of the museum and anywhere around the world. So we can share these important stories and this history all throughout the state of New Jersey and its educational institutions, all through the country and all through the world. So we're so excited to work with Friday is Tie Day, to work with Daryl and his mentees, and to share these stories throughout the world. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to partner with the museum to help build a mobile app that will use augmented reality for folks that are touring the museum and allow folks to get the stories and to hear firsthand from locals and from young people that will be telling the stories that are so important for us to preserve in the museum. What the app will also allow us to do is to create a traveling museum that we can send out to schools and folks all over the world so that what you get here in Cape May will be transferable. We teach these skills to high schoolers across the state. Friday is Tie Day is much like its namesake. We work with young men, and part of our signature is, wearing ties to school on Friday. So some of you may have seen just this last Friday, we brought our first group in from Middle Township High School. So we have a local chapter here in Cape May County that's doing Friday's Tie Day. But we have students all across southern New Jersey, from as far south as Cape May, as far west as the Shore, and far east as the Shore, and as far west as Camden Catholic High School. This past Sunday, we had our annual day where we worked with students to help them get their custom ties. We announced our seniors who will be attending colleges across the country, prestigious colleges like Morehouse, Howard University, University of Dayton, University of Pennsylvania. And these young men are excited to get to work with the museum to build this amazing experience. So to contribute to that, I have a gift on behalf of Friday is Tie Day to the museum. This piece was done by artist W. Ellington Felting out of Washington, D.C. He's often referred to as the Sammy Davis Jr. of hip hop. So he raps, he paints, he acts, he does all things art related, amazing, talented artist. And this piece was done by him, and we want to donate this piece on behalf of Friday is Tie Day to the Harriet Tubman Museum.
Thank you. Another thought-provoking rhythm we're going to play next. This is known as Abadan. Abadan is a rhythm that was created to honor the king. When the king left the village, they would play a little rhythm just to sort of make something to make the children dance, just make the king feel like he was special, because he was. But I'm reminded of the dangers that the chief and his crew of brave warriors would face when they left the village. One such thing that happened to a lot of them that was never made a recorded part of history was the slave trade, how they were captured. Over to my left over here, you'll see a picture that was created by my good friend, local Mr. Sidney Bruce Gary. Picture of a runaway slave. He was an explorer, just like Harriet Tubman. The slaves didn't know their fate when they came to America, but they met it bravely. We did the best we could. Look where we are now. Part of the American thread and part of the American story. Abadan was a name of a rhythm that was played to honor the king. They also played that rhythm upon the return of the king to the village. A lot of slaves never got a chance, a lot of citizens of these villages never got a chance to hear this thing played for their triumphant return. We play this rhythm in their honor.
Funga, Alafia, Ashe, Ashe. Funga is a traditional welcome dance originated from West Africa. In the Yoruba language, Alafia means welcome. Ashe means be with us. It's also recognized as a call and response song. So Harriet Tubman, Alafia, Alafia. We welcome you to the Harriet Tubman Museum of Cape May, New Jersey. And Ashe, Ashe, we are so proud and privileged to have you with us in our community. Funga, Alafia. Ashe, Ashe. Funga, Alafia. Ashe, Ashe. Funga, Alafia. Ashe, Ashe. Funga, Alafia. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. Funga, Alafia. Ashe, Ashe. Funga, Alafia. Ashe, Ashe. Funga, Alafia. Ashe, Ashe. Funga, Alafia. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying and enjoying that performance by the Pan-African Rhythm Cooperative. Check. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our portion of the program. Welcoming you to the Harriet Tubman Museum on this Juneteenth day. I'd like to take this opportunity just to introduce the individual members of the group just for a small moment. Starting off with Mr. Reggie Anderson, on djembe. And Reggie happens to be our artistic director, our disciplinarian, and our teacher in this group. And he does a fantastic job. I have my little big brother, Jeff Hebron, here on djembe. He was also rendering some vocal numbers in the earlier portion of the program. We have Mr. Dave Williams on djembe. Mr. Dave Williams. We have the unstoppable Miss Lisa Russo. Lisa Russo on djembe. I'd like to make this very special introduction of Muriel Anderson, because Muriel is not only an excellent drummer, but she's our in-resident dance instructor. She instructs these dancers on how to make their moves. Speaking of dancers, we have Kristen and Keisha. They're siblings. They're beautiful, and they rock. Forgot about Brother Ade. I can't forget about Ade. Ade all day. We got Brother Ade Wilson on the Kinkini right here. That's everybody. That's everything.
And our founder and director of this fabulous group, Rastabla Hebron. Thank you. Have a great day, people. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. When I look at the group, and I can remember, when you think about this kind of operation, I can remember when Cape May did Kwanzaa and the Funga dance, and West Cape May did Kwanzaa and the Funga dance. And so that just gives you an idea how long Muriel and Reggie have been teaching African dance, and that it can be done in any community, that it is possible, and that's the richness that we do want to come back to Cape May. What a treasure, what a moment. We can't lose it. I can remember Carol's daughter danced. Many of the youngsters here whose parents were here remember calling and saying, hey, we're practicing with the same group. So we love that dance. We don't want to lose it. And again, it is a part of that African heritage that's a lot of fun too. Okay. So at this point, what we will try to officially do is to make that first original statement that we open the Harriet Tubman Museum. So I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Mohawk.
And now
we
officially open the Harriet Tubman Museum.
So, of course, the journey is the journey. Yes, it has some movement, many victories. There are some valleys, but what journey is straight? None. So our journey really has been so fortified and blessed by a wonderful trustee board. I'm going to ask them to come forward now. If I try to name them all, I know I'm going to make an error, but if all the Harriet Tubman trustee members would come forward now, in addition to, and I know they're not waiting for this, all the members of Macedonia Baptist Historic Community History Committee. And that's also Miss Dempsey. She's a part of the History Committee as well. We just want you to come on stage for a quick minute and right behind us because once again, they were a part of that journey. So can I get all of the trustee members, come on forward. And if there are any museum ambassadors, it's very interesting to hear Deacon Fashaw speak of Alexis Faison, because when you visit the Harriet Tubman Museum, one of our first museum ambassadors, which I kind of call tour guides, but I guess we got to call them ambassadors, is Alexis Faison. So you'll get to meet this really phenomenal young lady, and she does have a lot of wisdom. Also, Restabla is one of our museum ambassadors. So if you can, come on aboard if you've been a part of the Harriet Tubman Museum journey. I know some of you might be a little reluctant. Maybe some of you have already been up here already. But you should come forward, okay, if you can. Okay, all right. You can move a little closer to me. Okay. Come on forward. I know everybody's shy, but that's okay. Okay, yes. Back up a little more, okay. Okay.
We have so many people that have supported the museum, and we're so blessed with such an incredible community. When we said we were awarded this most anticipated museum in the world by Smithsonian Museum, it was January 2020. And if you look down this list of 10 museums, you see like the National Museum of Egypt with pharaohs and then the Moving Picture Museum in Los Angeles and the National Museum of African American Music in Nashville, and all of these museums that have like a 50,000 square foot space and a $50 million budget. And this started with a community and a dream and a vision. We wanted to preserve the building and we wanted to preserve the history, but we never thought that this would explode into such a nationally recognized historic space. And so we're so grateful. And our journey continues, and we just wanted to highlight that we do have Tom and Sue Carroll here and the Clemens here, who have done so much to restore spaces, and who actually restored a space on Bats Lane that was the Owen Coachman House. And Bats Lane is named Bats Lane for Baptiste, who was the first free black landholder in Cape May County. And so they did an incredible job of restoring a home of an early 1800s free black person, Owen Coachman, who has an incredible story that you'll find in the museum. It'll take too long to tell it here, but we gotta pique your interest. But so we're grateful to them. We're so grateful to the historic committee who did all of the interpretation, to Emily Dempsey, who from the 90s has been collecting oral narratives through the Center of Community Arts. So this is just an incredible group of people who have come together and formed the museum. So thank you so much.
I just want to add, there are several that are still sitting, Ms. Lois, Ms. Davis. There also want a special thanks to Ms. Joyce Gooch, who helped with the U.S. Colored Troops flag. She put a lot of work in it, and we're just, we were blessed that a lot of people care about us and put that extra work in, and it couldn't have happened without you. And so now we get to share it with the world, and we're happy, we're gracious. We understand this incredible gift we're giving. We don't take it lightly because there are so many people. I always say this in my tour. My tour has a little bit of storytelling. But anyway, when I say in my tour is that we are happy that Harriet Tubman was in Cape May, New Jersey. But what I want to say is that in our community, there were many Harriet Tubmans, many men and women, heroes and sheroes in African American community that made a difference in our lives. And the Harriet Tubman Museum and the Macedonia Baptist Church and the trustees took that opportunity to make sure that the African American community in Cape May, some of Cape May County, is never forgotten. So we thank you. We thank all of you, every single one, for every portion that you've had in it. So we are going to close our program with asking Macedonia Baptist Church, some of the choir will have an opportunity to sing a closing song. And that's really special. I always share in the museum that the Negro spiritual is a genre that, of course, somehow has sort of disappeared. But Macedonia Baptist Church is noted for the Negro spiritual, led by Reverend Robert Davis for so many years. And we're happy that this next portion we are going to be able to share through some of our choir members, one of the songs, one of the Negro spirituals from Macedonia Baptist Church. Please welcome them as we exit one and bring our choir up. Thank you, everyone.
Can Lois have this? She's just going to sit there. Here, you can sing from here.
Okay. Wait, I'm going to try to stand up. Bring them back. I'm going to try. Look at all the attention I'm getting.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Many of you don't know it, but I was supposed to be the third person up there dancing. Okay, if you believe that, I'll tell you another one. But I will say this. If you're here and you haven't felt something, you haven't learned something, you haven't experienced something within yourself about this occasion, don't go home and lay down because you're dead. And they will show dirt in your face. You have had to feel something from what's happened here today. Let me know you have. And now, just for that, I'm going to allow everybody to take a part in this. We're going to sing My Country, 'Tis of Thee. Is that all right? Okay. Come on, choir. My country, 'tis of sweet land of liberty, of thee we sing. Where my fathers died, from every mount, let freedom ring. Now, don't you feel like you're a part of something? Yeah. Okay. Get up here. Hurry up. Come on before the storm comes. And Mrs. Davis is going to sing with us too. This is a little trio that a spiritual trio that we did. We couldn't, she's going to do, we're going to do Over My Head. And Carolyn's going to do the alto. Over my head, there's music in the air. Over my head, there's music in the air. Over my head, I hear music in the air. There must be a God somewhere. Over my head, I see color in the air. Over my head, I see color in the air. over my head. I see color in the air. There must be a God somewhere. We're going to close it out now with one of our pastor's songs, Amen. I know most of you have heard him sing that, and that was our closing number. We're going to close out with that. Amen. 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 Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Amen. Hey, come on, give me some enthusiasm here. Amen. 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 Amen.
Thank you, Miss Lois. Those low notes, they're tough. She, you know why she leads the choir, but we love her. She's such a great personality. She actually has a part of the Harriet Tubman Museum. There's a legacy room that has Miss Lois and many others in the Cape May community, and we have a lot of fun with that, so we hope you'll come to see that. I do want to give a special thank you to the U.S. colored troops. Can we give them a round of applause? They've come so far. And just such dignity to our program, and just a special, wonderful occasion. We thank them very much for taking the time to take that moment and bring that special recognition to this time, specifically for Juneteenth. And so now we're going to say goodbye and hope you have a great Juneteenth. You may come to the museum. I will say, I think Ms. Mullock spoke about the square footage of the house. Yes, you may come in. There's no charge. I will say this. We'll get in as many as we can. Of course, it does have some limitations. If you're not able to get in today, we're open tomorrow from 2 to 5 p.m. One more plug. We're also looking for museum ambassadors. And I do have applications right with me. So, you know, any of you who are interested, we'll be opening Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday from 10 to 5, Sundays, because of our church family, 2 to 5 p.m. So if any of you would like to give us a day, we do have those museum ambassador positions available. I have to plug it because scheduling is important to me. Now we're open. The work is getting ready to be done. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for the love. Thank you for all the graciousness. Please come and see us at the Harriet Tubman Museum. One step beyond, you can join us at Macedonia Baptist Church on Sundays at 11 a.m. Don't be afraid. We embrace everyone. And this is a small church with a great big heart. Come on and join us. Amen. Thank you, everyone.